So I kind of knew that this video was going to be a little bit heated. The topic of today's discussion, and my personal perspective is abortion. A lot of you probably don't really know me very well. You probably don't know that I'm pro-life. So anything that supports the fundamental rights of others and their freedom, I'm all for it. Which is an oxymoron, right? Because we're talking about abortion. But I think it's about time that women start normalizing being responsible and stop using abortion as a birth control method. I think it's time that, women start, being a little bit more responsible, a little bit more sophisticated, and just educated in the matter, because I think as women in the United States, we've been so conditioned to believe that the Democratic Party was the only way, when really there's the nonpartisan, there's, Democrat, Republican, nonpartisan, the Green Party, and the Libertarian Party, obviously. But this is beside the point. It's very politically driven. So I think what is most of our lives, for us American women, we have been socialized and socially conditioned to believe that birth control is something negative. And never mind that, but we've been conditioned to think that abortion is a method of birth control. It is time that as women in the United States of America, we normalize that, in fact, abortion is not birth control. Birth control is birth control. There's even the day after pill, for crying out loud. We need to normalize these women who like to be radical. Stop calling these unborn children a clump of cells. Stop calling them crotch goblins. That it just sounds so derogative, so disgusting. And you got to understand, never mind the politically driven topic of abortion. You, as a woman, independently and by yourself, when you utilize terms like crotch goblins, or when you're using the term a clump of cells, or a leech, because I've heard a multitude of you women out there utilizing those terms. Okay? I have blatantly and literally have stood before thousands upon thousands upon thousands of you radical Democratic women talking about how it is a clump of cells. I have heard upon thousands of you women utilizing the term crotch goblin. Enough is enough. America needs to socialize and condition this new generation of women to be responsible. That if you are going to be sexually active, you need to be responsible for your actions. Don't belittle, don't be degrading men just for the simple fact that they are men alone, okay? Because it takes two to create a human. It takes a man and a woman, period. There's no ands, this, what ifs, no could ifs, no nothing. Now, here's the second aspect. We're going to talk about that one secondarily, not right now. But my point is, and my whole reason why I can have this conversation and sit before you guys, is because I'm a 3-time rape survivor and domestic abuse survivor. Okay? A lot of you radical women like to bring up the rape card and the incest and this and that and a multitude of other topics and things that pertain to this issue. I am telling you right fucking now, I was raped. And even if I had gotten pregnant by my aggressor or the criminal himself, I would not, listen to my words and listen very closely, I would not have killed the baby at all. I would never get an abortion under any circumstances. Because you need to understand things for the way they are. It is not the unborn child's fault. It is the man, the aggressor, the criminal, however you want to call it. Okay? That child does not need an explanation of how it was brought into the world or who it was, etc., etc., etc. The child simply needs to understand that they are here and have a fine purpose in this life. And that regardless of what we face together, that child will be loved and supported. Period. You guys have got to be responsible for your actions. Abortion, let me repeat this. Abortion is not a method of birth control. It is murder out of irresponsibility, out of a woman's inability to understand how she's been blessed. It is a woman's inability to be responsible. There is nothing cool, nothing awesome, nothing positive or good about getting an abortion. And you know what? Quite frankly, I think my generation and every other generation that is older needs to be held accountable. Because this has been going on decade after decade after decade after decade. And until we plant that seed of change, it will never happen. So I'm going to tell you right now, as a 3-time domestic violence and rape survivor, we as pro-lifers and as women of faith and as a strong generation of courageous women, we are going to normalize that change of being responsible, of having accountability for our actions. And let me say this louder for you dummies in the back who don't understand what I'm saying. There is adoption, and I am 1,000% certain you guys have heard over and over and over and over and over again. Adoption. You do not need to murder a child if you do not want that child. All you need to do is let that hospital know, let your physician know, and call these adoption agencies. It is literally that basic and simple. American women and society in general needs to normalize women being responsible women. As a culture of modernized women, we need to be responsible for our actions. And let me say it again. Abortion is not a birth control method. There are pills, there are injections, there's a thing that goes into your arm that's called an implanton or implanton, whatever the hell you want to call it. That is birth control. That is a method to prevent pregnancy altogether. My mother had an abortion with my younger little brother. And to this day, I am a 35-year-old woman. And I'm still traumatized by what my mom did to my little brother. I was so disheartened by this that I decided to dig in deeper, which it only ended up further traumatizing me. But I am glad that I did, because now I know the poor spirit and soul of my little baby brother is not at ease because of what my mom did out of her own irresponsibility. Yes, my mom had an abortion of my little brother. Yes, I was young when it happened. Yes, they told me the news when I got older and when I was able to understand. So for you women out there who think abortion doesn't fuck up other children, or that it's perfectly okay because they approve of it and it's a well-known topic, I am here to tell you that as a 3-time rape and domestic violence survivor myself, even if my aggressor had got me pregnant, I would have not ended that child's life in my uterus at all. At all. So that argument that you guys, you radical feminists, like to put up there is not an argument anymore. It is no longer valid at all. And believe me when I tell you, I am not the only domestic violence and rape survivor out there who tells you this type of information. I would never take somebody else's life, ever. And it doesn't matter if it's in my own uterus or anywhere else. Because it is not our place as humanity to take the life of an other, much less a brand new baby's life. They are not crotch goblins. They are not a clump of cells. They are a forming, beautiful child who is a blessing above it all. And every person who has ever gotten one, no evil works that you have committed against that child, even though they've passed on, will go unseen and unnoticed. And trust my words, it's definitely noticed. But I'm going to tell you right now, as a survivor, I would have never ended that child's life, ever. Nor am I going to say, hey, I conceived you out of abuse. Never. Because that baby doesn't need to know any of that. Absolutely none of it. Okay? That child needs to grow up knowing that it is loved, supported, and that that child's hopes and dreams will be fully supported. Period. We need to normalize that American women start being responsible and controlling themselves. We need to normalize the fact that abortion is, in fact, not a birth control method, but in fact that the Depo-Provera, the pills, the implanton that goes into your upper arm, tying your tubes or burning them, those are forms of birth control that are legitimate forms of birth control. There will never be any acceptability when it comes to trying to utilize abortion as a birth control method. And let me tell you, as a survivor, and there is a multitude of other rape and domestic violence survivors like myself, when we hear you guys say this,
are you seeing this?
Mm-hmm.
A bunch of,
Yeah, I know. As a survivor,
will they even let them in the store like that?
I will not take the life of any child. Let me explain why. I am not God. I don't declare and decree when you live and when you die. And to all you derogative, ugly-hearted women out there who enjoy using this term crotch goblins, or who enjoy using the term a clump of cells, how would you have felt if your mother referred to you that way? That you were just a ball of cells? Or that you were a leech sucking on her, sucking the life out of her? How would you have felt if your own mother had said that about you? Let me tell you right here and right now, this new generation of pandemic babies, they're covered under the sanctity and protection and love of the Most High. So to each and every one of you who have committed this act, you may have successfully done so, but spiritually you damned yourself. And psychologically, it's a whole other level of messed up. And I'm going to tell you, as a sister, she said, I'm bored. As a sister to a little boy who was killed via abortion from my mom, it hurts my heart and my soul like I cannot explain to you guys. I feel betrayed, let down, disappointed, and to some extent ashamed of the actions of my mother. But you know what? when she did this, I wasn't even alive. I wasn't around yet to save my baby brother. It is a heartache that cannot be explained. So for all you women who go out bragging about your abortion, oh, I got an abortion first, y'all should stop right then and there. Because you're not only embarrassing yourself, you're embarrassing a generation of women who have worked so hard to get to where they're at. Yeah, I know. So I'm going to tell you again, and for the last and final time. Abortion is not a birth control method. Birth control is. Burn your tubes. Get the implant on. Get an IUD. Get the pill. Abortion should never be an option as a birth control method. Period. And this is coming from a 3-time domestic violence survivor and rape survivor. So go to bed tonight and think about the things that I've told you. Okay? Because I'm a survivor. I went there. I've been there. I lived through it. And even if I had gotten pregnant, that baby would be alive today. Living its life happily and healthily. Make no mistake. Letting a child live its life is just what is right to do. Period.